Hello friends, in this video I am going to discuss Indian economy in the pre-British period. But before I get into the discussion of the economic condition in the pre-British period, I am going to give an introduction on the history of India before the British period and during British period. So that means we'll take a bird's view on the rulers in India before the Mughal came, and basically how the Indian civilization started and how the Hindu religion flourished, and then how the Hindu rulers ruled, and then how the Mughals ruled, and then how the British came to India, how the freedom struggle started, and how India got independence, the partition happened, and then the Indian economy. So we shall discuss all those things later. But since the first unit of Indian economy in any syllabus deals with the Indian economy in the pre-British period or in the historic period, it is important to understand the history a little bit, because the history is full of controversies, because the conclusion depends upon the way we interpret things. That is why you will find when it comes to the pre-British period or even the British period, you will find different historians, particularly economic historians, have given very different interpretation to different things. That depends upon the ideological position of the researchers. That is why you will find one group of researchers give a different conclusion, while other group of researchers give different conclusion. That is why if we have a broader understanding of the Indian history, we will be able to take the conclusions by different authors in a very rational way, without any biases. We will be able to see different ideological positions while reading the economic history of India. So, in this context, I am going to give you a brief introduction, or say a bird's eye view on India's history of the rulers. Now, first we will discuss the birth of Hinduism in this subcontinent, and if you look basically at the historical point, basically the anatomically modern human civilization, then we see that about 73,000 years to 55,000 years ago, it is believed that the people came from Africa to the Indian subcontinent. So that is what is believed, that this Indian civilization basically goes back to somewhere by between 55,000 years to 73,000 years ago. And then by 4500 BCE, there was a settled civilization in this part of the world. When I say settled civilization, basically there was, that starting from Stone Age to a nomadic tribe to hunter gathering, and then settled agriculture. So I mean that actually basically that by 4500 BC there was settled life spread over this subcontinent. And then we are aware of the Indian Valley civilization, which is one of the oldest civilizations of the world, and it is contemporary to the ancient Egypt civilization and Mesopotamia civilization. So that flourished basically. When we talk about the Indus Valley civilization, it basically refers to part of the Afghanistan and Pakistan. So and the northern part of India. So we saw that Indus Valley civilization has flourished, and then that was basically the time period between 1900 BC to 2500 BC. And then around the second millennium BCE, we see the arrival of the Indo-Aryans into the northern part of India. No, we know that via Hindu Kush, the Indo-Aryans actually enter into the northern part of the country, and then starts our Vedic civilization, and then the composition of Vedas starts, and then we had a large collection of the hymns, and then religious culture, religious scriptures, And of course, it made a synthesis with the pre-existing religious cultures of the subcontinent, and which basically gives rise to the Hinduism. And that's how Hindu civilization is established, and then a lot of Hindu scriptures, and then code of conduct in the society, were all scripted, and then basically comes the rule of the Hindu dynasty, and we are aware of the dominant dynasties like Magad and then Dhanananda, and then Dhanananda was basically defeated by Chandragupta Maurya, and we know that. No, we have studied in history that the rule of Chandragupta Maurya is considered to be the golden period of Indian history, and so that dynasty basically rules somewhere between fourth to third BCE, and again that during that time we see the Buddhism and Jainism, and that actually basically comes as a counter to the caste discrimination practices in India. And then, of course, the Buddhism again gets appropriated by the Hindu religion. And then comes, if you move towards 7th and 11th centuries, then we see that different empires in different parts of this country rule. Basically, those are Hindu rulers like the Pala Empire, the Rashtrakuta Empire, and then the Gurjar and Pratihar Empire. And if you look at the South India, then we are hearing about this Chalukya Empire, and then Chola Empire, then Pallava Empire, Chera Empire, and then Pandan Empire, and then Western Chalukya empires. So in different parts of the country, we see different rulers, particularly the Hindu rulers rule, and then we also see, if you look at eastern part of India, especially Odisha, then we see a lot of temples coming up. Of course, in different parts of the country, we have seen when Hindu religion is flourishing, different temples are constructed. If you look at Odisha, then again, if you look at the Konark temple, Jagannath temple, Lingaraj temple, that actually, those are all constructed between say 6th century to 12th century AD. So we see the lot of prosperity in Hindu religion, and then also, in fact, during that time period, we also read in history that the marine trade had also flourished, and that goes back to the Mauryan dynasty, because in Chanakya's Arthashastra, which is written during that Maurya dynasty, it is described actually basically the interstate trade, and when somebody imports certain commodities from other kingdoms, what kind of taxation should be imposed, and then if there is adulteration of the commodities, what kind of penalty will be imposed. So all these things are there, and then that's how we see the trade relation also had flourished during this time. And mostly, of course, the trade relations of India basically were focused on basically in the Southeast Asia. That's how the trade relationship with Sri Lanka, and trade relationship Java, Sumatra, Borneo. So basically, the present Indonesia, Myanmar, and the entire Southeast Asia. And with the trade, we saw also the spread of Buddhism in the entire Asian subcontinent. So that's how the religion and then economy actually are basically coming together. That's how we need to understand all these things. Then comes the Mughal Empire, and it's not that all of a sudden the Mughal Empire comes to this Indian subcontinent. We saw the gradual Islamic conquest via Afghanistan, that which starts from 18th century, and then the formal Mughal Empire starts in India, basically in the 16th century AD. That means in 1526, when Babur starts ruling from Afghanistan, and then Pakistan, and then that's how gradually the Mughal Empire spreads to the northern part of India, and then gradually towards the southern part of the country. Uh, so then, no, the formal lead, no, the other Mughal leaders, basically like Akbar, Shahjahan, then Bahadur Shah. So basically, these are some of the prominent names, but there are so many other rulers that we have all read in history. And so, just to save time, I am giving only a few names here. So of course, we know that Akbar was well accepted by the Indians because he married to a Hindu queen, and then he also he was very liberal about the pluralistic ideas, basically well accepting different religions in his courtyard, and then Shahjahan, and then construction of the Taj Mahal, and then Bahadur Shah. So basically, the Bahadur Shah is considered to be the last Mughal empire in Indian subcontinent. And then comes basically the fall of the Mughal Empire, and by early 18th century, the decline of the Mughal Empire starts, and then we see the rule of Marathas, then emergence of the Sikh, and then Mysorean kings, and then Nawab of the Bengals. So that's how we see, both a mixture of the Hindus and Muslims and Sikh, different religions. Basically, they start ruling different parts of the country, and but there is a fall in the Mughal Empire, and then gradually the East Indian Company comes to this part of the world, and then starts the British rule, and we see that no, the British rule starts somewhere in mid 18th century, and then that goes to mid 18th and 19th century, and then we see that now in the British rule in this country, some economic changes had happened that we shall discuss in details. But then again, there is a protest also against the British rule, and then we are hearing about the Piker Rebellion, which started in the early 19th century, and then no, but that's how recently we celebrated the 200 years of the Paika rebellion, and basically, actually, it is considered that by 1819, the Paika rebellion had actually started. So, and then we are all aware of the Indian rebellion of 1857, and then which is considered to be the freedom movement that starts actually in India, and then that spreads to all parts of the country, and then leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, and then Subhash Bose, hundreds of leaders in different parts of the country come up, and then India's freedom struggle starts, and then again, but again, the British Raj had some impact on the Indian economy, some positive, mostly negative. So that actually we'll discuss in details. And then India gets independence in 1947, and then of course during independence we saw that India gets divided into India and Pakistan, and then it's based on religion. Pakistan becomes a Muslim country, then India becomes a secular country, and then we also saw the partition of the Pakistan, and then the origin of Bangladesh in 1971. So what happens? No, if you compare to the past, that's no, starting from say 400, 4,500 BCE to the present of say the mid 20th century, then we see that starting from the Indus Valley civilization to the British rule, we saw that again this subcontinent, the entire South Asia has been divided into different countries, starting from Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, okay, and even Nepal, Bhutan. So all these partitions have happened because of different rules by different kings. And when we discuss the economic situation during different regime, basically different by basically the economic condition during the regime of say the Hindu rulers, then the Mughals, and then the Marathas, and then the British rule. There are a lot of differential opinion, and then different people take different ideological positions, and that's so a lot. There is a lot of controversy involved. So the people who take, say the pro-British approach, they would have a different interpretation. The people who take a pro-Mughal approach, ruling, they will have a different conclusion. Similar, the people who are take nationalistic approach will have a different interpretation. So when we get into the economic condition and the discussion, now we'll be discussing all those points. How different people have interpreted different things, particularly when it comes to the economic condition of this country. So with this, actually, we basically conclude the discussion on the history of the rulers of this subcontinent. And then in next video, we shall discuss the economic condition of India in the pre-British regime. And I hope you might have liked this video. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please click on like, and then do subscribe this channel, and do share this video among other friends. And in our next video, we shall discuss the economic condition of India in the pre-British period. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this video.